Suffering from dry, tired, irritated eyes? Don't let dry eyes win. Use Systane Pro. It hydrates, restores, and protects dry eyes for up to 12 hours. Systane Pro. Triple action dry eye relief.
I'm here on the job site with Dale, who's a framing contractor.
Hey, good morning.
Dale traded up to Geico Commercial Auto Insurance for all his business vehicles. We're here where he needs us most.
Yep, they sure are.
We make it easy for him to save on all his insurance needs, all in one place, with coverage that fits his business and bottom line. Oh, I shouldn't have looked down.
It's all right.
We're so far up here.
Look at me. Take a deep breath.
Oh, I'm good. So good.
Get a commercial auto insurance quote today at geico.com and see how much you could save. Get more with Geico.
Coming up on this episode of the Mario Rosenstock podcast.
Say casual racism, you mean that it's sort of said in a jocular or light-hearted way,
yeah,
but it's still racist.
Yeah. I mean, the intent of it is not to harm, but the impact is harmful.
Exactly.
Whereas overt and explicit racism, the intent is to harm and the impact is harm as well.
So there's messing with you, but it's cruel.
Yeah, it's sure, Leon's black, sure, he'll be able to, wrap that for us or whatever. Or the choker box was a thing, oh, Leon, you should be able to get that money, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you're on the box, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, very creative.
For a young man in his early 30s, Leon Diop has already had a very full and eventful life. His father was from Senegal and his mother is Irish, and Leon grew up in the 1990s in an Ireland that was still very much monocultural. He describes being the only brown boy in his school, and naturally that attracted a lot of attention, not all of it welcome. He experienced a lot of both overt and casual racism, and he describes the difference in our chat, as well as having a father who was an addict and a not very pleasant guy to have around. But as you're about to hear, Leon has grown up to be a resilient, successful, good-humoured and funny guy who has managed to turn a lot of tough times into something more positive. He's the founder of the Black and Irish Advocacy Group. He's a podcaster and he's the author of 2 books, the latest of which is a memoir called Mixed Up, an Irish boy's journey to belonging. I think you're going to find this chat both fascinating and funny.
A group of all the kids showed up on the fields that we were all playing on. One of them singled me out and was like, what's your name? And I was like, I'm Leon. And he's like, Leon, you're a black animal. And that for me was such a sucker punch. I had very curly hair, a huge afro, but I was trying to straighten it, so that I'd get a mullet like the rest of the lads, and then I was going to dye the bottom of it blonde.
Good luck with that.
Sweet lamb. Like, it was
that was going to be hard.
It was tough.
So you were trying to turn your afro into a mullet and dye the bottom of it blonde.
Yeah.
How did that look?
It looked and smelled terrible. Whenever he didn't kind of want to have to deal with me, he would just throw me into a dark room. He would close the curtains, he'd turn off the light, he'd like, don't turn this back on, and then he'd slam the door shut. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Did that affect you?
Of course, yeah. Like I couldn't deal with the dark for years. It was tough for the younger version of me. I don't think I'd change it because it's now given me the soft skill of resilience and stuff like that to be able to deal with what I'm dealing with now.
My full chat with Leon Diop coming up in just a couple of minutes' time. But first, it's that special time of year, folks, when we give gifts and think about what's most important to us. Mariah Carey tells us constantly what she wants for Christmas, so we asked some well-known people what they want. How are you? Ray Darcy here. All I want for Christmas is for everyone to have a close look at what they're putting into their bodies and their mouths this Christmas. Make the right decisions, lads, so stay off the duck fat roasties. Opt for boiled Care Pinks instead with the skins on. Skins on. Swap that heavy bread stuffing and go for fibre-rich shredded cauliflower stuffing instead. And of course, don't go near the booze. It's a killer. It's a killer. It's a killer. A glass of Baileys is like eating a triple pack of Mars bars, deep fried. It's pure poison. But relax and have a lovely time. And don't forget to eat raw cake. Christmas. I'm sick of hearing about Christmas at the end of the day. Do me a favour. All I want for Christmas is for people to stop saying how adorable I was on the Late Late Toy Show. It's not the Late Late Roy Show. Stop saying it. I was there to keep an eye on things at the end of the day and make sure they run as they should. I turned up. It was my job. It's the least I could do. I've been watching this thing for years and thought I'd need a bit of a skipper to knock it into shape. The lad Keelty. Credit to Gaffers. He's an absolute appalling shambles at the end of the day. Jeez, northern guests. Just because you're from the north doesn't mean you get on the show. Get off the show. Get somebody decent on for a change. Go away.
This is Michael O'Leary. All I want for Christmas is a load of scobes on Ryanair flights to winter sun hellholes like Lanzarote and Shagaloof, filling their boots with overpriced vodka baggies and scratch cards. They think they might win $1 million. The only winner is yours truly, in power until 2036, at the earliest. So have yourselves a merry little Christmas and shut up.
And exclusive new comedy on the Mario Rosenstock podcast each week. And just to tell you a couple of notes, for the Christmas, we're putting out a couple of my favourite podcasts over the Christmas to tide you over until the new year. We're coming back early in the new year, for which we have a very, I think, very, very interesting guest I'm delighted to share with you. But if you want to contact me in the meantime, of course, during the break, it's mariorosenstock@gmail.com about anything you want to talk about. And you can catch me on tour. Of course, I'm doing a mini tour in spring. I'm in Dean Crowe Theatre, Mullingar Arts Centre, Lime Tree Theatre in Limerick, and Black Box in Galway in the spring. I'm also in London on February 7th, my first ever London show. So if you know people over there, tell them to come along to the Shaw Theatre, Saturday, February the 7th. Okay, Leon Diop is standing by and ready to go. He grew up in Tala in the 90s and started by describing what life was like for him back then.
Most people in Tala are salt of the earth people. They want to get on with their life. They want to, be safe, be happy, enjoy their lives, and, get on with things. And that's how I experience most people. Yeah. But unfortunately, there was things that I had to experience that most other kids wouldn't. And that was racism. That was either overt racism.
And where was that coming from? Was it coming from a particular age group, or was it coming from a particular place?
It was primarily coming from kids that were just slightly older than me. So maybe 4 or 5 years older than I was. So like I would have been kind of 9, 10, 11, 12 when I began noticing kids kind of treat me differently. And then my first experience of racism was when a group of older kids showed up on the fields that we were all playing on, and just began tormenting us. Now they came over with the intention of tormenting us, but one of them singled me out and was like, what's your name? And I was like, I'm Leon. And he's like, Leon, you're a black animal. And that for me was just like such a sucker punch. Like my skin color was being used as a means of attacking me, and it's something I can't hide. Do you know what I mean? It's something I can't, put aside or whatever, So that was difficult. And unfortunately, while most days didn't have racism, some days did.
And what was your method of dealing with it? I mean, obviously, if you compare it, let's say, to bullying, right, which you've kind of compared to it there, because you intimated.
I think there's not a layer. There's not a layer when you bring kind of race and ethnicity into things, because, it's things that you can't. It's something so obvious. It's like a big target on you, and it's like you are wondering then, are other people going to pick up on it, and are other people going to start treating you bad because of the colour of your skin? So that was difficult at the time to deal with. And then of course it just led to a number of different identity issues. Do you know what I mean? In terms of not feeling Irish enough, or not being Irish enough, and I was associating kind of whiteness with Irishness. And that was another problematic thing. So, yeah.
So I suppose, is it fair to say then that when you're young and you feel targeted like that, one of your first instinct is, I just want to fit in?
Every kid just wants to fit in.
Yeah.
They just want to lay low, not be embarrassed, not be
That's
singled
right.
out.
Teenagers get
not be picked on.
Teenagers are like that, aren't they? They just want to be part of the herd.
They just want to be in. That's and that was the thing. I was never in.
Yeah.
Not once.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now I had a core group of friends who I was in with. Like my friend Sean and my friend Shane. Like, it didn't matter what I looked like or who I was to them. I was their friend, and they were my friends, and that was the kind of main thing. But with any other groups that I associated with, there was always something. There was always like a bit of casual racism thrown into things. Whether if it was a kind of wider group of white people, or if it was a wider group of black people, there was, you know, the element of...
Am I right in saying that when you say casual racism, you mean that it's sort of said in a jocular or light-hearted way?
Yeah.
But it's still, it still has racist, it is still racist.
Yeah. I mean, like the intent of it is not to harm, but the impact is harmful.
Exactly.
Whereas overt and like explicit racism, the intent is to harm and the impact is harm as well.
So they're just messing with you, but it's cruel.
Yeah, you know, like it's sure, you know, Leon's black, sure, he'll be able to, you know, rap that for us or whatever, you know, that kind of stuff. Yeah. Or like, you know, the troker box was the thing. Like, oh, Leon, you should be able to get that money. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you're on the box. Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, very creative. You have to, you know, if you don't laugh at these things, you'll kind of cry. I mean,
well, that's recently, the thing. When you have a target, they start coming up with new ways to hit the target.
I mean, like, you know, because I run Black and Irish now, I get the odd bit thrown at me here and there, you know, and often it's just your general slop. Do you know what I mean? It's you're a black this, or you're a monkey or whatever, you know. But someone sent me the N-word recently with the fada over the eye.
Okay.
And I was like, at least you're incorporating the Irishness into it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it was you know, I thought that was, you know, a bit funny.
I haven't heard that one yet.
Yeah, you know, so they like, you know, I think at the end of the day, you need to be able to, one thing that it's done for me, I think, is it's grown my resilience a lot, you know, and it's helped me with preparing me for the work that I'm doing now, because I'm very kind of out there when it comes to like racist incidents, kind of big public moments where race and ethnicity and kind of division and hatred are called into it, you know. When I'm speaking about these things, there's a lot of people that will turn, you know, on Black and Irish, which is the organisation that I run now, or on me. And I think going through those experiences definitely helped me in a way, you know. So while I look back and I'm like, damn, like it was tough for the younger version of me. I don't think I'd change it, because it's now given me the soft skill of resilience and stuff like that to be able to deal with what I'm dealing with now.
Your attempts to fit in were, I suppose, somewhat thwarted in a way by well, you're smiling, but I don't know if you know where I'm going, but they were sort of thwarted in a way by the idea that your dad, your dad, he was a Senegalese dad, right?
That's right.
And your mum was Irish. Where's your mum from?
Tala as well.
She's Tala.
Yeah.
Right. And your dad is from Senegal. Was from Senegal.
Yeah.
And your dad was from Senegal, but of course he was a kind of a native. He looked like a native Senegalese. Yeah. He dressed like a native Senegalese. So this was a source of embarrassment for you, wasn't it? Rocking up in Tala, what would he be dressed like?
Yeah, I thought you were going a bit of a different route.
What was the route you thought I was going?
The route I thought you were going was when I was like going out of my way to try and fit in. So I'd like do things like steal my mom's GHD hair straightener to try and straighten out my afro. That. You know, which is you know, it was a very difficult thing to do.
So
like,
in the sense that you had curly hair.
I had very curly hair, I had a huge afro, you know, but I was trying to straighten it, you know, so I'd get a mullet like the rest of the lads, and then I was going to dye the bottom of it blonde.
Good luck with that.
Sweet lamb. Like, it was
that was going to be hard.
It was tough. No,
so you were trying to turn your afro into a mullet and dye the bottom of it blonde.
Yeah.
How did that look?
It looked and smelled terrible. You know, so I thought you were going to talk about how my attempts to fit in were thwarted by the strength of GHD hair straighteners.
Well, that's good.
But yes, no, it was also thwarted by my father's
paint a picture for me there.
I mean, we're in the square on visitation, and you know, he would just rock up in these outfits that I'm like, what are you doing? Like, any young teenager is always embarrassed by, I think, their parents, no matter what they do.
You're totally
your
right.
parents, yeah. So,
but if your dad rocks up in a pink dress
is the way the only way I could describe it. Like, I'm finished. My name's ruined. You know, like I'm never going to recover from this. You know, he
there was probably a little Robbie Keane running around there in Talagon. Who's a man in the pink dress? Jesus, damn freak.
Yeah, no, like probably, you know, or another day he wore like a t-shirt with like our faces on it.
Your faces, yeah.
Me, my brother, and my sister's face on it. Yeah. And I'm just like, what are you doing? Like, just dress normally. Yeah. You know, like stop making this difficult for us. You know?
His accent as well.
His accent was very strong. It was very, very thick accent, you know. So you describe like.
So I'm not going to do this now. So go.
I'll do it. Don't worry.
That's what I'm asking.
Can you do the accent?
Without taking the piss out of. I'm not trying to take the piss. I'm actually trying to. What is that accent?
He called Burger King. Oh God, no! I don't know if I do it justice now. It was quite thick. Obviously, it was like a French
Okay.
person who had learned to speak English, but it was like, it's very difficult to describe. It's not like French that you hear in France. It's like African French.
I understand, yeah. I've heard it myself.
Yeah, yeah.
And don't make me do it, because I'm definitely not going to do it.
Like, you know, every syllable was overpronounced. Like,
yes.
So, called Burger King like Bugaga King. You know, like, which for me was just like, stop being so loud.
Yeah.
And like just talk to me. You know, just like, please. You know. So there was difficulties with that, because I'd hear other people kind of like having a bit of a giggle about it whenever they like, you know, or it was McDonald's. Like there was no adult McDonald's.
I know.
There's no L's at the end. You know, I'm like, please. Do you know what I mean? And it was always like the fast food restaurants. Do you know what I mean? Like that you had to shout. And another thing as well, actually,
The worst places for you.
the worst. Do you know what I mean? Like his sneeze.
Oh, yeah.
Was so loud. Like his sneeze was
Weird.
like, Joe, and like it would like the whole, you know, the middle part of the square.
It's called a Senegal sneeze. Sorry, that was a bad joke.
It's okay. It's okay. So the whole middle part of the square would like stop as if like a bomb went off. Like it was
okay.
Yeah, like it was really, really loud.
So the whole square would stop like a bomb went off, and they're looking at the guy in the pink dress,
in the pink
saying
dress.
Bugaga King.
Yeah. It was not easy. Not easy.
So you're mortified, basically.
Yeah, 100%. Just constantly embarrassed. Like,
were your siblings mortified?
I think they were a bit younger than me, so maybe they didn't pick up on it as much.
Yeah.
You know.
Did you ask him to chill?
I always asked him to, like, you know, stop speaking so loudly. You know, like whenever he was out in public, like he always just had to take a phone call. Like, you know, we're with you for an hour a week. Can it please just be us, you know, for that hour? Now, like, I didn't think about it at the time. I'm only saying that now.
Yeah.
But, you know, he would always be on the phone, and it's always like 50 decibels higher than everything else that's happening around you, you know? So you're just sitting there like, oh God. And then you'd see your friends, you know, from school or whatever, they're coming into the square as well. And you're just like, please don't see me.
Yeah.
You know, I remember one time sitting at McDonald's eating with him, and all my friends just decided to like come in and sit in the table behind us. And like, he didn't know who my friends are. Like, he didn't care. Do you know what I mean? Like, he just, he did whatever he wanted, whenever he wanted, you know? So yeah, that was difficult.
You had a difficult relationship with him?
I did. Yeah, I did. I mean, like, look, he was someone who struggled with substance abuse, and when he didn't have those substances, he was quite cold, you know, just mean character. Like, just difficult. You know what I mean? Like moody. You know, that was quite difficult. Now, on the other side, on the flip side of it, you know, if he did have a drink or a smoke, he was great. You know, in terms of, you know, wasn't as moody. Like, he could get a laugh out of you. Like, he could make some things funny. But then it would go to the extremes where if he drank too much, then all of a sudden it was like it was a scary place for any young person, any family to be in. You know, he was capable of getting very violent with us, you know, if we didn't do what he wanted, you know, or
physically violent.
Violent.
And what does that mean? Does that mean pushing or punching or hitting?
Yeah, hitting us, throwing us into rooms and stuff like that, you know. Whenever he didn't kind of want to have to deal with me, he would just throw me into a dark room.
Yeah.
Like emphasis on the dark, and that, like, he would close the curtains, he'd turn off the light.
Yeah.
You know, he'd like, don't turn this back on. And then he'd slam the door shut. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like, I was obviously very terrified, and like I'd often, you know, have family members like opening up the door and going, why is he in here on his own? Like, turning on the light and stuff like that. And me just being obviously very panicked and stuff like that. You
Did
know,
that affect you?
Of course, yeah. Like, I couldn't deal with the dark for years. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm a bit better with it now.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? But like, you know, if I'm my wife always complains that I leave every single light in the house on.
Yeah.
No matter, like, and like whenever I leave my house and I look back at it, I can see I've left all the lights upstairs on her. And I don't know whether that's a response or whether that's but like I always leave lights on in the house, and she's very upset about that.
Yeah.
But it's great because I'm able to, you know, blame it on a trauma response and not being just lazy and stuff like that, you know, or just like complete airhead, you know. So I'm able to get away with it a little bit, you know. I wonder if there's anything else actually. I can.
I'd start thinking of things.
Yeah, you
Just
know,
blame it all on the trauma.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Okay. And so your dad had some substance abuse issues, and he had some behavioural issues as well.
Yeah. Yeah. And like he the most difficult part of it actually was seeing how he engaged with my mum and how much my mum was struggling with it. You know, that was the hard part. You know, I remember asking my mum for a new dad for Christmas. And that was, you know, obviously me just wanting her to be okay. You know, I remember just being like, just leave him. Like, he's just like, you know.
Were you very attached? I've been very attached to your mum.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah, very, very close. Do you know what I mean? In terms of like, I love her very much. I wanted to be happy. I wanted to, you know, be safe and stuff like that. Like most young people would want.
And had she severed her ties with him? There
was a very violent incident while we were in school one day. We got pulled out of school, brought around to the house. Everyone I know as an adult was there. And I was like, what? So obviously my mom had been like, I need people here to like keep me safe and stuff like that. And then my dad was taken away by the guards. And then we were kind of whisked off then to Wicklow, where my aunt Lisa lived. And we stayed there for a few weeks while obviously things were happening in the background. My mom was in the process of getting my father removed from the house and getting kind of restraints and stuff like that for him not to be able to come near the house. But he still, like, you know, my mom was really strong and courageous in terms of getting him out of the picture. Oh, like, as in like getting him out of the house and, you know, filing for that, you know, restraints so that he couldn't be there. But he'd still mess with us. He'd still turn up on the road. He'd still sit on the wall of the house and stuff like that. Like, he'd still, like, my mom came out of the house one day and saw that the gas box on the side of the house had been fiddled with. Now, and like, he'd always say things like, whenever we would go on visitation to see him, like, he'd always mess with my mom, being like, I'm going to take them to Senegal and you're never going to see them again. You know, stuff like that, you know, which was just really hard for her, you know. So, but again, you know, throughout it all, my mom has been this very kind of strong, courageous character who, you know, she had a motto that she would die for her kids, but, you know, ultimately she lived for her kids and made sure that they were taken out of a very dangerous situation.
Do you think your dad loved you, or did he love you in a peculiar way? Or do you think maybe he just was cold?
This is something that I've battled with for a lot of my life. I don't know, to be honest. Like,
presumably he never told you, did he? One memory that I have was when he was telling us that he was leaving to go to France, and, you know, he was like, come here, I want to kiss you on the forehead. Like, so he was like trying to grab the back of my head to kiss me on the forehead, and I was like pulling away, like, no, I don't want you to, and stuff like that, you know. And like, I saw this real like dejected look, you know, and like, he gave up. He didn't like pursue it. Do you know what I mean? And that for me was a moment where I was like, okay, maybe he actually did want to like show some like love or tenderness or whatever, you know. Like, again, whenever he was in a good mood, we'll call it, like, he was always able to have a laugh. Like, if we tried to crack a joke, he would laugh at it and stuff like that. But to be honest, I don't know. I know that he was difficult, and like, that's what I do know. When, you know, he would be mean to us, I thought surely he couldn't love us if that's what he's willing to do to us. So, you know, or surely he doesn't love my mum if that's what he's willing to do. Yeah. You know, what happened to him, Leon?
So subsequently, like, after he moved to France, he rang my mum one day while he was in France, and I was eavesdropping on the conversation, and I overheard that he had cancer, and it was lung cancer. Now, he smoked like an absolute chimney, so I knew it was real. Like, you know, although I was kind of like, maybe he's messing, maybe he's lying, because you never know what it, like, you know, with him. And, you know, I knew he was unwell. He'd call the house. Sorry, he wouldn't call the house. He'd call my aunt Brenda's house, and we would have, like, Brenda would have to, like, yeah, all right, no worries, put the phone down, come up to us a lot of the time. Now, this is actually when he travelled to Senegal. He'd have to ring Brenda's to come get us, but he was mostly in France. And he subsequently died in France, died of lung cancer. And my memory of that is just coming home from school, my mum being like, Leon, I have some news I need to tell you. Your father's dead. And I had so many different kind of negative emotions swirling around about him. But I think in that moment, I allowed myself to feel a bit of grief. And like I got very upset, you know, like most people would in that situation. But very quickly snapped myself out of it and said, no, I'm not allowing myself to like feel this type of emotion for someone who'd caused me this much stress, anxiety, grief, pain, whatever it was, you know, over the course of my life, you know. And I then suppressed it for, I'd say, the next 10 years, you know. So from the age of 16 to 26, I only allowed myself to feel anger when I thought about him. I only allowed myself to feel frustration and be like, you know, and although that was, it was a coping mechanism, you know, but unfortunately it would like jut out, that pain would jut out in different ways.
Did that change after 10 years?
It did. It changed because I allowed myself to sit down and feel the grief. I sat down and allowed myself to say, I gave myself a half an hour, you know, where I was like, you know, I'm going to deal with this. I think this is like during COVID. So we're all kind of locked in our houses and being forced to kind of, you know, deal with our demons and stuff like that, you know. And I was like, right, I'm gonna deal with this, you know, and gave myself a half an hour. And I think 90 minutes later, I was still on the bed crying. I was like, why am I feeling like this? Do you know what I mean? But it was a relief. It was a huge tension, you know, lifted off me, which I think was good.
Okay. So just roll it back slightly. So you went to school, did your leaving? Went to Maynooth. What did you study in Maynooth?
Studied psychology. Bit of a Shutter Island situation there.
Okay.
You know, they were kind of like, yeah, he's a psychology student, but realistically I probably was, you know, a test subject for all the other students.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? But I studied psychology. I loved it. I thought it was really, really cool. Now I did psychology through science, so I needed to do 4 science subjects before being able to go on and take psychology with 2 of those subjects.
Yeah.
And I failed 9 of my 11 first year exams.
Okay.
I was just having too much fun, you know, like
very fun. But what stands out here is that you became president of the Students' Union.
Towards at the end of my degree. Yeah. I've gone through a number of different cycles in my life. You know, I remember traveling in to Maynooth one day after I'd gotten my kind of student handbook and going, oh, we have like a student president and stuff like that. I'd love to be that someday. And, you know, didn't really think about it. You know, failed my first year. Had a huge moment at the end of failing my first year that made me say, I actually need to get my crap together and I need to, you know, be better and do better and stuff like that. I can come back to that in a moment. And kind of, you know, got down into my studies and like began passing exams. Like I passed my repeat year. Subsequently never failed an exam again, which was good. But while I was in college, I got involved with the like events and promotions team. Loved having a bit of crack. Do you know what I mean? Now, I was involved with lots of different student societies because they gave out free pizza. Do you know what I mean? And I was a starving college student. I was hungry. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So like I was going to the Harry Potter Society meetings and the Disney Society. Do you know what I mean? I would sit through the whole film of Dumbo. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And if I had to, you know, because the Mazzonis was lovely.
Yeah.
But I got to know lots of people and I got to see that I had a bit of a flair for the kind of social side of college.
Yeah.
You know, not when I overdid it with like partying and stuff like that, but like bringing people together, making sure that they had a bit of fun, making sure that they were able to
you come
engage.
across, I mean, I must say, you come across as very relaxed, a kind of person yourself. You come across as laid back, right? Yeah. But also you're very smiley.
It's the Valium. No,
but you are very smiley though.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Like you kind of got a kind of half slagging personality.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Like, you know, what I want is that people feel you know, good and relaxed, you know, whenever I'm chatting to them. I don't want them to feel tense. I know what it's like to feel those things. You know, I know what it's like to be.
Do you consciously project that?
I don't think so. No, I think it's just I understand what it's like to feel the other side of this, or to feel the opposite end of this. Now, you know, I want to make sure that people feel
absolutely. So you became Students' Union president. Now, 2020 was a big year because there was George Floyd happened. So was this a pivotal moment for you?
Oh, it was a huge pivotal moment. Yeah, I mean,
for those who don't remember exactly what happened, give us a brief summation of what happened with George Floyd.
So George Floyd was a black man from Minnesota who was apprehended at a store, put in the back of a police car. Another police officer called Derek Chauvin turned up to the scene, took him out of the police car and kneeled on his neck for over 9 minutes. And this was all captured on video, and it began circulating around the internet. It happened on the 25th of May, 2020. I came across it probably around the 27th. It was just going super, super viral. You know, everyone was sharing it because we were all locked down at this time. This is like the height of COVID. Like everyone is like in their house on their phones all the time. Things were going super viral. TikTok was going super viral, blah, blah, blah. You know, so I remember seeing this video and just being so angry and so frustrated and so upset by what I'd seen. You know, literally watching a man lose his life in front of the world. Do you know what I mean? He's like pleading for air and stuff like that, you know, which is, it was just horrendous. And I remember pacing up and down my back garden for hours on end in Maynooth at the time and just being like, this is so horrendous, this is so wrong. And I decided to sit down and write a letter to George Floyd's parents. Wow. And just write out kind of my thoughts and say, like, look what has happened. Like, obviously say, I'm so sorry for what has happened, and you know, it's a disgrace. It's, you know, this person should be sent to jail and never be allowed to see sunlight again. And at the end of it, I was like, I hope that this can be a catalyst for change in the world and that we can change things for the better, you know. And not long after that, I had the idea that I wanted to start something here. I wanted to start something that showed that racism was in Ireland. Like, people experience racism on a regular basis, and you know, because I'd seen it. I'd seen racial violence. I'd experienced it. I'd seen kind of slurs. I'd been denied services. I'd been followed by security when I went into a shop. You know, so I knew that it existed in Ireland, and I think the movement that was happening at the time, post George Floyd, was very focused on black people's experiences in the US and anti-black racism in the US. And a lot of people in Ireland were talking about, oh, sure, Jesus, isn't it great that we don't have that here? Like, and it's like, we do, you know. So that's what I decided. I spoke to a couple of friends and said, look, I have this idea. Do you want to help? And they were like, yeah, absolutely. So we started Black and Irish as an Instagram account on the 4th of June 2020. And really since then, it's just taken on a life of its own. It's completely changed my life. You know, I went from working in recruitment to now being an advocate, you know, like properly, which is, you know, great. I feel like I've found my calling and stuff like that, you know, which is, which is you know, a great thing for me. But obviously I think what it has done for our community.
So what is Black and Irish? What does it concern and stuff? I know, I know basically what it is, but what really does it do? Yeah,
it's a non-profit that advocates for the black and mixed race community in Ireland in a couple of different ways. So it challenges racism wherever it arrives, or wherever it rises. And we do a lot of work with schools. We recognise that through the stories that we told over the last 5 years, a lot of people experience overt racism in schools, whether it's from other students or kind of systemic racism from teachers and feeling like they're being picked on and stuff. So we go into schools a lot. We talk about kind of the black experience in Ireland. We talk about black history in Ireland as well, which is, you know, a really interesting topic and stuff like that. And then another thing that we try and do is try to build a, you know, cohesive Black Irish community that can integrate into wider Irish society. So we do that by hosting events where people can come together, celebrate one another. You know, we can have that natural kind of integration happen, so different communities coming together and stuff.
When you say Black and Irish, what does that mean in terms of black? So let's say like black
can mean a lot of different things.
That's what I mean. You tell me.
So like there's a couple of different ways of looking at the word black. You can look at the term black as a political term, which it was during the civil rights movement, which incorporated a lot of different communities, black, Indian, Asian communities. It also incorporated queer people as well, which is it was a movement. Do you know what I mean? Back during the civil rights movement. Now, like, for the work that we've been doing, because of the experiences that we've had, we've primarily focused on like black people of African descent, you know, and of African descent is even a kind of narrowing word as well, because there's many different ways that you can be black. You can be black and born in Africa. You can be black and born in Jamaica, in the Caribbean. You can be black and born
Papua
in
New Guinea.
Exactly, in the US, you know, and stuff like that. So there's
Aboriginal.
Yeah, you know, these are all communities that we're trying to serve as well, you know. And I've begun. I was on
That's why I asked you, because
yeah.
In a way, you don't want to get into a situation where you're exclusionary in any way.
You know what?
Which would be the ultimate irony.
Sorry, yeah.
Blacks only, please.
Yeah.
Sorry, what did I just say there? Blacks only. Right. No whites, no browns.
Yeah.
Forget browns either.
That's it.
And
hold on,
let me
who's
say,
this fella over
sorry,
here?
Get in under that filter there. Yeah, okay, go on.
I love that meme, John. The family. I think it's like the Family Guy meme, and it's like the different shades of colours.
Oh yeah,
and it's like okay, not okay. Do you know what I mean? Like yeah. So it's just reversed.
Absolutely.
Do you know what I mean? Like if you want to come in, 100%.
Yeah.
No, but like obviously there's different things like that happen in communities. You've got colorism, you know, where it's like lighter shades of black people are often treated better, you know, and I understand that's a real thing. And then we have, you know, there's kind of three things that I've had to deal with. I've had mixed race people be very, very upset that I identify like as black or of black descent, right? Because oftentimes they've had very negative experiences with their black heritage, and they project that onto me, you know, and that I should be leaning more into my white side. That's one thing that I see.
Okay.
Another thing that I see is that
are they basically saying you don't represent us?
Yeah. Like I've made sure people saying that I don't represent them. I'm not trying to represent anyone. I know. I'm trying to you know advocate for a community. You know, I'm trying to make life better for them. You know, but I've also seen, you know, messages or kind of like talking points of, you know, black people with two kind of black parents being like, well, he's mixed race. How is he? Like, what is he doing? You know, with black and Irish and stuff like that. Why is he doing it, you know?
Is that a form of, sorry for being a bit reductionist, but is that a form of being racist itself, do you think?
I think it depends on your definition of racism. If your definition of racism is that one race of people, race is a social construct. It's something that we as humans have just made up. But if it's that one race of people just treating another race badly, then yes, it would be a form of racism.
Yeah.
But if it's the kind of the well-known understanding of racism, which is it incorporates power dynamics as well. Like, you know, I can, you know, not be nice to you in the street because you're, you know, a white man, but you can make sure that I don't come into this building because you're the one with the power. Do you know what I mean? In these situations, and power dynamics matter. Do you know what I mean? In these situations, and that is the kind of more kind of better understanding of racism. So it's not saying that like. It's not saying that black people can't be racist. This is a very nuanced conversation piece, and I do need to get this across properly. But it's often that, you know, black people can discriminate against white people, but being racist and holding power dynamics over them, over other community groups, regardless of whether it's white or Asian, is very uncommon because they don't hold power in the society. You know, so I do think that we need to be having more open conversations about this type of stuff, about power dynamics, about how they can arise, about how they can be dealt with as well, and how we can challenge them while making sure that everyone is safe. So I think these are conversations that we need to keep on having.
The McDonald's snack wrap is back. You brought it back. Ranch snack wrap. Spicy snack wrap. You broke the internet for a snack. Snack wrap is back. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
December deal drops at Lowe's are wrapping up, but there's still time to snag something worth bragging about. Get up to 40% off select major appliances, and members save an additional $100 on a new and exclusive Samsung French door refrigerator, now just $18.99. Need new tools? Select tools and accessories are up to 45% off this week. Lowe's, we help, you save. Valid through 12/24. While supplies last. Selection varies by location. Loyalty program subject to terms and conditions. See Lowe's.com/terms for details.
You're 31, Leon, yeah?
Yes.
So you've written 2 books?
Yes.
And what was the first book and when did you write it?
So the first book was Black and Irish, Legends, Trailblazers and Everyday Heroes. It's a young adult book that came to be after a incredible publishing house reached out to us called Little Island Books. And they were like, have you ever considered doing something for young adults? And at the time, I was looking at the Black and Irish accounts and I was seeing that less than 1% of our followership was under 18. And I was like, well, we need to do something here. One of our core aims is going into schools, and we're obviously not, what we're doing there is not picking up enough traction.
Mm-hmm.
So we wanted to create something for young people to be able to, hold on to and have with them, So we created Black and Irish, Legends, Trailblazers and Everyday Heroes. It's a book that contains 25 different stories from the Black and Irish community. Over the last 8 decades. So it incorporates, mixed race people like Jude Hughes, who grew up, in Ireland, who was born in the 40s. Do you know what I mean? Like he's 84 at the moment and he's just this incredible, activist who has advocated for the underdog all his life in terms of campaigning during the civil rights movement in the 60s, campaigning against apartheid South Africa, here in Ireland, obviously. Right through to the likes of Rashida Adeleke, who is, just this incredible icon now in Ireland, who's representing us so well on a international stage, So contains lots of different stories. It went on to win on Post Book of the Year for the young adult category. One of the greatest achievements of my life. But I think what mattered the most to me was when I would be approached by young people, or I'd get text messages from parents being like, I'm reading this book with my kid and they absolutely love it. They can't put, they want me to read a different story to them every night, and it's just so lovely to hear those. It was also nominated for British Book of the Year. Don't know how I feel about that. Do you know what I mean? Trying to take, you're not gonna, they try and take a lot of, we did, yes. But no, it was,
Brit, Leon, our Brit, they claim you.
I imagine.
Tallaght is in Britain.
Oh, stop.
And come here, and this book is called Mixed Up.
It is
an Irish boy's journey, to belonging. And this is a memoir.
It's a memoir for young adults. So
that covers some of the ground in more detail that we talked 100%. About.
Yeah, absolutely. It covers a lot of ground. It covers like experiences of racism, experiences of identity crisis, difficulties with parents from different cultures and how that might, present itself and stuff like that. And then just like how I dealt with it or didn't deal with it, and I think what it'll do is it'll give names to these things or to these feelings that young people will feel.
Yeah.
Particularly the first time you experience racism, it will put kind of language around that, in terms of the gut-wrenching feeling that you feel, the kind of shame and humiliation that people will try to project onto you because of the colour of your skin, but that's not actually how you should feel. The problems that arise with racist people, or people engaged in racist behaviour often have so much difficulties going on in their own lives that they need to project on.
You were talking about a history actually there. I came across this interesting nugget of history.
Yeah.
Are you familiar with the name Frederick Douglass?
Of course, yeah.
And do you know that he came to Ireland?
Yes.
Oh, you do?
I do, yeah.
You know that he toured Ireland?
Yeah.
And that he was, the reason he toured Ireland was he wanted to meet Daniel O'Connell.
Yes.
Amazing stuff.
Emancipator. Yeah. So, I mean, like his story is incredible because he talks about coming to Ireland and just being treated like another man.
Yes.
He got on a train in Belfast and was like, where shall I sit? And the train conductor was like looking at him like, he had 10 heads. Sit wherever you want. Like, you have a ticket, don't you?
I know.
Sit wherever you want to sit. And
and we've been beaten up enough. So, we didn't, Although, to be honest with you, when you do look at the history of America, the America in the 20th century and the late 19th century as well, it's a very complex story. The idea of the different ethnicities coming to America to find their place. And, Irish people found their place in politics, largely in Boston and New York and all that. And, they associate, the cliches of the Italians and the mafia. But there was a hierarchy there as well.
Of course.
And there was racism everywhere among those groups.
100%. I learned something.
And Irish people were just as racist.
I learned something so incredible from a griot, which is like a storyteller, in different communities, last St. Patrick's Day. And he spoke about, the Irish and the, I suppose, Black Americans and how they were mixing at the time, and how for the Irish to get ahead, what they needed to do was take part in these minstrel shows. So the Irish would paint their face black. They would get up and do the show, and they would be, impersonating black people. That's and making black people look bad so that they could get a leg up. Do you know what I mean? This is But this is what happens when you put so many people into situations where they're all depraved, or they're all they're sorry, not depraved, sorry, they're all deprived. They have to, they feel like they have to fight for
they're being
resources.
Forced into a corner.
I came from, I come from a background of poverty. I come from a background of deprivation, and that's why when I, for example, got accepted into college through the HERE scheme, I was like, the HERE scheme is the higher education access route to college. It's for younger people who need additional kind of supports, in college. I felt shame when I got that. Do you know what I mean? I was like, I don't want to hand me out. I want to be able to just, do things on my own merit and stuff like that. But the reality is that we need interventions. We need, because people have gone through some of the situations that they've gone through, we need to be stepping in and helping people and making sure that they're able, not just one community, but all communities, to make sure that they have what they need to survive.
What's your, look, the obvious, there's an elephant in the room here as well, right? Which is the, with what you've been through, with the background you have and with the organisation that you've set up, it must be educational and disappointing for you to see some of these protests on the streets. What is your opinion of that? What thinking of that have you done? What are your thoughts around those?
I've done a lot of thinking on it. Of course, it's very disappointing when...
Get them out.
And seeing kids at it as well, and young kids chanting that too. And they, kids are taught these things, and it was something that I realised when I was younger, that a lot of young people were being taught the racism that they were engaging in. And we're not going to see the full knock-on effect of this for another 5 to 10 years in terms of younger people coming up with these really negative and hateful attitudes towards people who are different, when that shouldn't be the case at all. I think the protests are coming from a lot of people in Ireland now not feeling a sense of security, living in situations where they're living paycheck to paycheck. They don't know where the next meal is coming from. The likelihood or prospects of them getting a house
they're
in the
going
future.
through that thing we discussed a minute ago, where they feel backed into a corner and 100%. Now they want to lash out.
Yeah, they're going through that deprivation right now, and those fears that they have are being preyed on by agitators who want to make sure that these ethno-nationalists that want to racially purify Ireland, they see an opportunity here. They see an opportunity to bring more people into their camp.
Can I open this up a bit more though, right? Because another thing is happening in the last few weeks, right? So for example, Simon Harris has done a bit of a U-turn, all right? From somebody who wouldn't have any, if you like, been seen to have any discussion about immigration, right? He's now started saying, no, immigration it's very important that we have discussions about it. People are sort of saying, you weren't saying that a few weeks ago. So now he's done a U-turn on that. And what would be your opinion on that? Where do I start? Not all immigration is the same.
No, of course not.
Okay.
And this is the problem. People are saying we have an immigration problem. That is, there are many different types of immigrants.
Exactly.
We have economic migrants, we have asylum seekers, and we have refugees. Yeah. Refugees are obviously asylum seekers who have been granted refugee status. So, each of them at a point have a right to be here. Asylum seekers, while they're being adjudicated on, refugees are now given a right to stay. And economic migrants, once they have the reason, are able to come in and work. And that shouldn't be... it shouldn't be a problem. But the problem is that we have not recognised the very serious geopolitical situations around the world and said, there is going to be more people coming here. We need to prepare for that. And we need to be able to put the resources behind it.
But would you agree with me, Leon, if I said to you, I don't think it's fair for young, healthy males who are not fleeing war and who are not refugees to be coming in unlimited numbers into the country, with many of them, let's say, coming from places where they know that there would be no social welfare, and they know that there is a social welfare gambit here, and that they're coming, and they're coming with cynical.
When you prime it like that, of course.
Well, that's of course, but I am. There are people
who are saying, but like the reality of it is that not every asylum seeker is going through that, and we split our asylum seekers into either families or young men. Do you know what I mean? Like we don't, it's either women and families, or children and men. So naturally, it's going to be groups of men, like quote unquote, and like language is being used here. Do you know what I mean? Like unvetted, military age. Like I'm an unvetted military age man walking around the streets of Dublin. Do you know what I mean? Like, but like all of a sudden I'm like, what? Not a problem because I'm Irish. Do you know what I mean? Like, but I could be a problem. And this is the thing, the conversation can very quickly turn from, or not the conversation.
Do you know what though?
Yeah.
The conversation can quickly turn into, let's have no conversation about it.
It can.
Because people are afraid to have a conversation about it. And I think no conversation is worse than having a conversation.
100%.
Because then everybody has a gaffer tape over their mouth going, I'm not getting involved.
Yeah.
And that then creates a vacuum.
It does.
And the vacuum allows get them out into the frame. Because they're not afraid to say get them out.
100%. That's the problem. We've had a vacuum now for a number of years. And that is what has allowed, really since COVID and stuff like that, like we started to see these, conspiracy theories, and we started to see these,
replacement theories,
100%, and these really kind of negative, racist conversations happening online or in public, and we weren't challenging it enough. We just thought, look, they're not serious. It is serious. It's always been serious. There's always been an element of kind of far right activity going back to like Ona Duffy. Do you know what I mean? We need to. We really need to, as you say, have conversations.
It's better to have the conversation because that will expose them. That will expose the people of bad faith in our community.
It always does.
Conversation will, but not no conversation.
No.
And there is an element I see in Ireland at the moment, and in fact, you see it in Britain as well, because I listen to a lot of stuff over in Britain, where people are being, if you like, shut down from talking about it.
Yeah.
Right? Before even almost discovering whether they're people of good faith or bad faith.
Bad faith actors, yeah.
Bad faith actors.
100%.
But so nobody gets involved then. And then it's left to just a few.
It is. And for me, what we need to do is, of course, allow everyone to be able to ask whatever questions they need to ask to reassure themselves, or to be able to have the conversations.
For example, I've never seen it. For example, the word immigration is used hundreds of times a day in the newspapers and television.
Like that.
Yet I can't remember seeing a decent debate on television recently at all, where it's actually not people shouting at each other and people accusing each other of something.
Descending into chaos.
Yeah. Because for me, it seems that there is a simple conversation to be had about it.
Yeah. What is the simple conversation?
Well, first of all, establishing the parameters, right?
Right.
So for example, I mean, without me being an expert on the subject, I already outlined what I would have thought.
Okay, yeah.
You need kindness.
Yeah.
You need to accept a certain amount of refugees because we are a first world country. That goes without saying.
Yeah.
You need economic migrants for all sorts of reasons. One, they offer they offer our economy more prosperity.
Yeah.
Two, they offer diversity, which is always a great thing, I think.
Yeah. Our HSE was shut down 24 hours. Our health service would be gone within the space of like a week if
all of this stuff.
Yeah.
But three, you don't want our society to be left to be predated on by people of bad faith.
Of course.
And who are people of bad faith? Well, they might be, and that's why this word unvetted military age, because they have the social mobility to travel, right? Because they're not 75 years of age, right?
Yeah,
so they can jump around the place and come into the country. And they can go, listen, back where I'm coming from, the government ain't giving us anything, but I hear there's good stuff over in Ireland. All you need to do is jump in there now, get signed on, and you'll be getting the dole in no time at all.
Right.
I say to that, piss off.
And like, look, I and many others would agree with you, but the problem is that everyone gets lumped into that conversation. As soon as we say, oh, well, you know, this group could be it, then all of a sudden it could be any refugee or any asylum seeker. Do you know what I mean? So, you know, they're all bad. Get them all out. Do you know what I mean? And what I was trying to say earlier on was that the conversation doesn't necessarily stop with asylum seekers. It very quickly can expand into, well, who else is on our streets? Who are you? What are you doing here? Do you know what I mean? And all of a sudden then it's people like me walking over to, you know, here to have this chat with you, and I'm getting stopped going, who are you? What are you doing? Which is the experience for a lot of members of our community now. Like, you know, so this is what I mean by, like, we need to, of course, have a very mature, realistic conversation on migration and how we're going to
but
how
also,
we're going to manage
also
it.
Conversations about not hassling people. You just said that.
Yeah.
Conversations which look at the legal restrictions about hassling people on the streets about that. You can't just be going up to people and going, who are you?
I mean, it's happening.
Yeah, but that's wrong.
Yeah, I agree.
That's harassment and assault.
Yeah,
you know, so you can't be just going up to people, going up, who are you, on the basis of your skin color.
Yeah, I mean, we saw videos during the City West kind of incident where cars were being stopped, and there's, you know, civilians shining torches in the cars, going, "Where are you going? Who are you?"
Yeah.
You know that. I live in Tallaght.
Yeah, I know.
You know, I like
but that's just completely beyond the pale.
Yeah,
and just forget it. Like
the tram, like the Lewis was stopped. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that. The impact that this is having on communities is huge.
Yeah,
and we really need to get this under control as a country, and I don't mean just like our government. I mean everyone in our society needs to.
Do you think we're losing control of that at the moment, or do you think we're that they're starting to focus on it a little bit more?
I think I'm a public servant. I might get in trouble.
You have the right to speak freely as well. Sorry, you have the right. We're in a free country. What's the point of being a public servant if you have the right to speak freely?
I think for a really long time, people saw asylum seekers and refugees getting the blame for stuff that was their fault, and they were able to go, happy days. You know, we're not being pinned with this, and that was allowed to grow legs, and now has gotten to the point where they're like, oh, okay, we need to put the genie back in the bottle here, and it's too late. It's too late. Now we've got, you know, really souped up racial agitators who have huge followings, who are able to say what they want, who are able to dress in Nazi uniforms and kind of, you know, do and say whatever you want. They're not the people I'm worried about. It's the people taking in their message who are going to go to a, you know, iPad center, you know, and set fire to a stairwell. They're the people that, like, you know, that are going to start popping up in our society. So we unfortunately have a lot of work to do in getting this back under control, and getting it back under control means challenging what's happening on social media, like really challenging it, and like going to the social media, you know, companies who are here, you know, enjoying being in Ireland and saying, you need to get a hold of this. This is not fair.
Take responsibility.
Take responsibility. Look at the means. Sorry, take accountability as well. We know that you feel that you don't have the means to get on with your life in a secure way, but it's not the asylum seekers' fault. It's ours. You know, it's taking that level of responsibility, you know, and then obviously making sure that people have the means to be able to live their life. And
the only problem is there. One of the problems there is the status quo that exists in the economy of Ireland, and it's always going to pretty much be like this, is that we live in a very centrist and right of centre economics model. Yeah. And the right of centre economic model means broadly broadly, it favours capitalism, it favours the free market, and it favours people getting richer, and and people do go to the margins.
Yeah.
And it's those very people who are in government who will be reluctant to admit that they've pushed the people into the margins.
Of course.
So they won't admit that their economic model has failed.
Has led us here, has led us to the point where, a lot of our society, and look, this is, when it comes to even globalism as a whole, there's winners, there's losers internationally, and there's winners and losers nationally as well. And we're starting to see people starting to feel very burned by that and say, well, hold on a minute, why am I struggling day to day when I'm seeing X, Y, and Z CEOs getting $1 trillion pay packages or X billion or whatever, and we're starting to see that turn into acts of violence now. And we're like, this is actually a really serious problem, because what we don't want is crime going up, murders going up, people being attacked, people being killed, So for me, people need to they need to understand that they need to intervene here and say asylum seekers are not the reason why.
Yeah, there are political issues.
Yeah,
and there are endemic political issues that create these inequalities in our society, and blaming somebody as a scapegoat has always been the easy way out, whether it be the Jews or whether it be people of colour.
Absolutely. So and I think, of course, education is always going to be huge, and educating people on the...
Totally. I know it sounds boring to say that, but you're 100% right, and that's something you're involved in.
It is.
Going to schools. And that's where it all has to start. It all has to start in the schools, and it has to start when you're 8 and 9 and 7 and 8 and 9 years of age.
Because you're getting an education in some way, shape or form.
Yeah.
Whether it's in a school and you're being told that, look, diversity can be a positive thing for our society, and I know that the country's going through some challenges, but we can make it through the other side. Or you're getting an education if you're at those protests and you're hearing, get them out, and your education then is getting people out, or that's what's forming your kind of your thoughts and your behaviours.
Yeah. Leon, what a pleasure it has been to talk to you. Your book is Mixed Up, An Irish Boy's Journey to Belonging, and it's out now, is it?
It is indeed, yeah.
And
any reputable bookshop. And
any
online.
reputable bookshop. And what a pleasure it is to have spent the last hour talking to you. And thank you.
Thanks so much.
And my thanks to Leon Diop for coming in and speaking to me on the last podcast, the last new podcast of 2025. I'd like to thank you, all the listeners. You're the most important part of this, of course, because you're the reason we keep it going, the only reason we exist. We try to keep this podcast free, that you don't have to subscribe and you don't have to pay us. And we hope you feel it's worth it. Just to tell one other person maybe that you enjoyed this podcast. That's all I ask, because that will really help to keep us going and maybe get some more sponsorship in the future. So I would like to thank you again for listening all throughout 2025. We've had a great 2025, and I can't wait for the next year to see what it brings to this podcast and the various different guests that it brings. Take care of yourselves. Have a wonderful Christmas. Have a safe and peaceful Christmas, and have a great and exciting new year. And I hope to see you then. Bye-bye.